Hi, my name is Everett. Today I am reading Dragon Masters, Cave of the Crystal Dragon by Tracy West. Chapter 1. Where's Griffith? A bright green light flashed inside Bracken Castle. Drake and his Earth Dragon Worm appeared in the training room. Dragon Masters Rory, Bo, and Anna ran to greet them. We rushed here as soon as we got your message, Drake said. Griffith is missing? Well, not missing exactly, Rory replied. Yes, it turns out there was an explanation, Anna explained. Bo grabbed Drake's hand. Come with us to Griffith's workshop. Puzzled, Drake followed his friends into the wizard's workshop. A young woman with hair sat in Griffith's chair. Eco, Drake cried. He ran to give the dragon mage a hug. What are you doing here? I received a magical message from Griffith, she replied. We had to leave in a hurry. He asked me to train you while he was away. Where did he go? Drake asked. Eco's dark eyes flickered. He did not say, she answered. Anna frowned. When we last saw Griffith, it almost sounded like he was saying goodbye forever, she added. We sent for you before we knew Eco was on her way. Here, Bo said. We thought something bad might have happened to him. Eco stood up. I have no reason to believe Griffith is in danger. Come, we will have lunch in the Valley of Clouds. Drake brought Worm to the dragon caves to rest. Then he traveled through the tunnel that led to the valley behind the castle. There, Eco, Rory, Anna, and Bo sat around a blanket topped with apples, cheese, and fresh loaves of bread. Drake sat down and reached for an apple. Drake, tell us about how you got rid of the sky shadow, Rory urged. Well, a lot happened, Drake began. He launched into the story. Everyone listened without saying a word, and then the sky shadow dissolved, Drake finished. Whoa, Anna said, her eyes wide. Drake's stomach grumbled, and his friends laughed. I've been talking so much I forgot to eat, he said, and took a bite of his apple. Drake. His dragon stone glowed as he heard Worm's voice in his head. What's wrong, Worm? Drake asked. It is Griffith, Worm replied. I know where he is, and he needs our help. Chapter 2. A Rescue Mission. Worm says that Griffith is in trouble, Drake told his friends. Worm, where is he? In Greenshire, Worm replied. Greenshire? That's the village where Griffith was born, Drake remembered. We need to go there right away. Rory's, Bo's, and Anna's hands shot up in the same time. Eco, can I go? They all chimed in. Griffith would not want us all to leave the castle unguarded, Eco replied. Only one of you can go with Drake. She plucked 3 blades of grass from the ground. Then she held them out, hiding parts of the stem in her hand. Rory, Bo, and Anna, choose one. The dragon master with the longest blade gets to go, Ika instructed. Rory, Bo, and Anna each pulled a blade of grass from Eco's hand. They held them out. Mine's the longest, Rory cheered, and she jumped to her feet. I get to go. Congratulations, Rory, Bo said. Bring Griffith back safely, Anna added. Rory ran back to the dragon caves. I'm going to get Vulcan. Wait for me, Drake cried. He quickly finished his apple. Then he grabbed some more food from his blanket and ran after her. Back in the castle, he found Rory putting a saddle on her fire dragon Vulcan. Worm was outside his cave. Drake tossed an apple to him. Ready, Drake? Rory asked. I cannot go on a mission on an empty stomach, Drake replied. He gobbled down some more bread and cheese. Then he touched Worm. Ready? Rory put one hand on Worm and the other on Vulcan. Worm, please take us to Griffith's workshop. Worm, please take us to Griffith's village in Greenshire, Drake commanded. A bright green light exploded from Worm's body. Seconds later, the light faded. They had landed on a dirt road. The late morning sun shone in the blue sky. Small brick houses surrounded them, each topped with a rooftop made of straw and mud. Villagers rushed toward Drake, Rory, and their dragons. Their eyes were wide with curiosity. Hello, Drake announced. I'm Drake, and I am Rory, Rory said. We are looking for a wizard named Griffith. The villagers began to talk in whispers. Then a woman stepped forward. I am Gwen. There's a story you should hear, she said. And that story must be told by Alan, the storykeeper. Can you please take us to him? Drake asked. A wavy-haired boy emerged from the crowd. He sat in the chair with metal wheels attached. He moved forward by placing both hands on the wheels of his chair, pushing the wheels forward. I am Lou, son of Alan, the storykeeper, he said. My father is away, but I am the storykeeper in training. Follow me. I will tell you a tale. Chapter 3. Guardians of the Cave. Lou led Drake, Rory, and the dragons down the road. I've never seen dragons like yours before, said Lou. My dragon Worm is an earth dragon, Drake explained. And Vulcan is a fire dragon, Rory added. But don't worry, he won't breathe fire unless I tell him to. Lou smiled as he led them toward the shady tree. I have never seen a chair like that moves like yours does, Drake remarked. My father found it in Gallia, Lou replied. A dragon master named Jean makes them. We know Jean, Drake cried. She makes amazing inventions. Lou got a faraway look on his face. I would love to meet her someday, he said. As he pushed forward, his wheels bounced over the uneven pavement. It can't be easy to ride in a wheelchair over the bumpy ground, Rory said. It's better to be bumpy than not go anywhere, Lou replied. When I was a baby, I had an illness. I got better, but that is the reason my legs don't work and I need the wheelchair to get around. Before I got this, my mom or dad would carry me or pull me around in a cart. Now I have more freedom because I'm able to push this chair myself. He stopped at a tree. There, Lou said. Have a seat. I have a tale to tell you. Dragon Masters Rory and Drake and the dragon sat in the shade. Lou began the story. Outside the village where the tree line ends and the sky meets the land is the crystal cave. The cave leads deep underground, but nobody can say how deep it goes. The crystal cave with the crystals with magical powers grow inside the cave. Drake's eyes got wide. Magical powers? Yes, like crystals that can help you dream, or crystals that can give you confidence or good luck, Lou explained. Those crystals must be very valuable, Rory remarked. They are. The villagers love them, and wizards all over the world use them to cast spells, Lou continued. But some crystals can be used for evil spells, so a wizard born in Greenshire is chosen to guard the cave, to make sure the crystals aren't stolen. Our missing wizard Griffith was born in Greenshire, Jake said, and so was Griffith's cousin, Morgan. Morgan has guarded the cave for many years, Lou explained. He lives in a hut outside the cave, and the villagers supply him with all that he needs. But 1 week ago, when Gwen wanted to bring him vegetables, he was gone, and the cave was as silent as a tomb. Oh no, Rory cried. Sadness swept through the village, Lou went on. Morgan is very kind, and people were worried. My father and others are searching for Morgan. A message was sent to Griffith, asking him to guard the cave until Morgan was found. Griffith came right away, but just yesterday he disappeared too. Drake shivered. It sounds like something bad has happened to them both, he said. There is hope, though. One can sense that Griffith is here somewhere. Then we must search for him, Lou agreed. We must make sure both wizards are safe, and also the crystal cave must be protected. There are no more wizards in Greenshire to watch over it. Rory jumped up. Can you take us to the cave right now? Lou shook his head. No, I can give you directions, but I will slow you down. The terrain is rough and I will need to take a break to rest my arms. Drake pointed at Worm. Don't worry, Lou. I know an easy way we can get there. Chapter 4. Looking for Clues. Drake put his hand on Worm. To travel with us, you need to touch Worm, he explained to their new friend. Lou grinned. I saw before how you all appeared in a beautiful green light, he said, touching Worm's tail. Is that how we will get to the cave? Yep, Rory said. She climbed on Vulcan's saddle and touched Worm's back. Worm, can you take us to the crystal cave? Jake cried. Green light flashed, and seconds later they arrived on a big slab of rock in front of the cave entrance. Lou looked down at his wheelchair. I'm still in one piece, he exclaimed, but my stomach feels fluttery. I've never gotten used to that feeling, Drake admitted. Lou gazed around. This is very exciting, beginning to a brand new story. Lou and the Dragon Masters explore the cave. Lou and the Dragon Masters explore the crystal cave. Rory walked toward a small wooden hut. Is this where Morgan lived? Yes, Griffith probably stayed there too, Lou said, following her. Rory stepped inside. Lou stopped. I cannot go upstairs with my wheelchair. But you should go inside, Jake. I've never thought about how easy it is to get around with two legs, Jake thought as he followed Rory inside the hut. I wonder if Lou feels frustrated when there are places he can't get into. The tiny space contained a cot, a table, and a chair, a fireplace, and shelves filled with books. One book sat on the table. Rory picked it up. Griffith's journal, she said. Maybe there's some more clues about what happened to him. Let's bring it outside so Lou can see it, Jake suggested. They left the hut and Rory turned to the last written page in the journal. This morning I will continue my search of the Crystal Cave, she read aloud. I believe something terrible has happened to Morgan, and the answer I seek may be there. Drake turned to Lou. Can you come inside the cave with us? The path leading into it looks smooth, Lou replied. I guess I can try. The cave entrance was tall enough for the dragons to pass through. They all entered the large chamber. Sunlight poured through the entrance and lit up the space inside. Crystals grew down from the ceiling, out of the walls, and up from the floor. They sparkled as the sunlight hit them. This place is called the Grotto, Lou explained. It's the top layer of the cave. Drake gazed at a pale yellow crystal. There are so many crystals in so many different colors. Does each kind of crystal have a different power? Rory asked. Yes, Lou replied. Those red ones give you energy, and these light blue ones are for calming. Mom's been looking for one for my baby sister. He plucked one from the wall and put it in his pocket. Drake walked past a dark purple crystal sticking out of the wall. A long green thread dangled from it. This is odd, he said. It's a green thread, like Griffith's robe, Rory cried. He must have snagged it on the crystal. Lou wheeled over to them. That is an interesting twist of the plot. I know this crystal. It helps you protect secrets. I wonder what secret it is guarding. Lou reached out. Then, with his finger touched the crystal. It glowed. Then a dark purple outline of a door appeared on the wall. Push on the door, Rory urged. Lou pushed and wheeled inside. It's a hidden chamber, he called out. Chapter 5. The Cave Secret. Jake and Rory entered the hidden chamber. Worm and Vulcan followed them. I think this is a map of the cave, Lou said, pointing to a large drawing carved into one wall. I think you're right, Rory agreed. It shows all the layers. The grotto is on top. Lou pointed to the lowest level. Look, that's a dragon. They all looked at the image of their dragon. Energy lines extended from the dragon all the way up to the grotto. Does this mean a dragon lives in the Crystal Cave? Jake asked. There are no stories about a dragon living there, Lou replied. Unless... No, it can't be. What are you thinking, Lou? Rory asked. Well, I have seen a crystal dragon in my dreams, Lou explained. When storykeepers sleep, we sometimes go to a dream world that feels real. And I am still training to be a storykeeper, but I have been to that world. And that is where I have seen the dragon on that map. Just then, Drake's dragonstone glowed. He heard Worm's voice in his head. I can sense a dragon far below us. Worm says there's a dragon in this cave, Jake told his friends. Then we need to get down there, Rory said. Then green thread was a clue. Griffith must have found this chamber. He probably went looking for the dragon. Maybe Morgan did too. Jake peered down a pathway on the opposite wall of the map chamber. It looks like this path goes down the keeper into the cave, he said. We should follow it. Lou gazed past Drake. The path looks rough, he said. I don't think my wheelchair can handle it. We need you with us, especially since it sounds like you have some kind of connection with this dragon, Drake said. There has to be a way. Lou, do you want to ride on Vulcan with me? Rory asked. I sometimes ride horseback with my cousin, Lou replied. Why not a dragon? Do you mind if Worm helps you into the saddle? Drake asked. Lou smiled. Something tells me that it might be fun. Rory climbed onto Vulcan's back. Then Drake gave the command. Worm, please get Lou onto Vulcan's back. Worm's body glowed softly. A green light shone around Lou. With his power of his mind, Worm lifted Lou off his wheelchair and onto Vulcan. Will my wheelchair be safe if we leave it here? Lou asked. Yes, it should be, Drake replied. Worm can transport you back into it any time you want. Great, Lou said. He put his arm around Rory. This is like having a fire-breathing wheelchair. Rory smiled. Let's go find Morgan and Griffith, she cried. Chapter 6. A Surprising Find. Drake and Worm led the way as the friends traveled into the heart of the crystal cave. Vulcan followed behind, carrying Rory and Lou. Magical crystals on the walls lit wide passageways, glowing from within. Lou spoke in his storytelling voice. The three brave heroes and their dragons traveled deeper and deeper into the cave. Do the last wizard wait for them? Will they find the crystal dragon only seen in Lou's dreams? You know, I keep worrying, Rory interrupted. What if Griffith and Morgan found the dragon and it attacks them? Try not to worry, Lou replied. In my dreams, the crystal dragon is friendly. Drake looked back at his friend. We'll find out soon. I see a bright light up ahead. Drake's dragonstone glowed and he heard Worm's voice in his head. We should enter slowly. We don't want to startle the dragon. Worm says we should go slowly, Drake told the others. Drake and Worm entered the very bottom level of the crystal cave. Drake blinked. This chamber was brighter than the pathway. The room was enormous, larger than the training room in Bracken Castle. The walls and ceiling swirled with pale colors, blues, pinks, yellows, and more. Large crystals jutted up from the ground. They shone with bright, white light from within. Vulcan entered. Rory and Lou were shading their eyes. I don't see any dragon, Rory commented. Then Lou pointed. Look, there's something inside those crystals. They all turned and hurried across the chamber to the tall, clear crystal pillars. Inside one was a wizard with white curly beard and wearing a yellow robe, and in another crystal was Griffith. Morgan, Lou cried. This is another strange twist of plot. Griffith, cried Jake and Rory. Rory turned to Lou. Are you sure the crystal dragon will be friendly? Fairly sure, Lou said. We need to get Griffith and Morgan out of these crystals, Jake said. Worm, can you use your mind powers to free these wizards? I am not sure, Worm replied. If I shatter the crystals, the wizards might get hurt. I will have to be very careful. Give it a try, Drake said. Worm closed his eyes. His body glowed green. The two crystals began to sparkle. Then Worm's eyes flashed open. We're under attack. Watch out, everybody, Drake yelled. A shower of sharp yellow crystals flew at them from deep inside the chamber. Chapter 7, Bellor. The yellow crystals zoomed toward the friends and the dragons. Worm, stop those crystals, Drake yelled. Worm's head snapped in the direction of the sharp crystals. They suddenly froze in midair, glowing green. Then they dropped to the ground. Roar! The fierce, angry cry of a dragon filled the air. Lou gasped. The crystal dragon! Vulcan, if the dragon gets close, blast him with fire, Rory cried. Please don't hurt him, Lou pleaded. Worm can try to reason with him first, Drake said. Fine, Rory replied. But if that doesn't work, Vulcan will attack. A dragon slowly moved toward them. He had 4 legs and no wings. Shiny yellow and purple scales covered his body. Golden yellow crystals stuck out of his head and back. Worm, let this dragon know we are friendly, Drake instructed. Worm glowed as he communicated with the crystal dragon. A moment later, Worm relayed the dragon's message to Drake. His name is Bellor, Worm reported. He says that humans are not friendly. The wizard in yellow tried to bind him and make him do his bidding. I don't understand, Drake said. Lou told us that Morgan is a good wizard. Why he wouldn't try to control a dragon? Worm relayed this to Bellor. The crystal dragon's body flashed with light. Bellor thinks you are calling him a liar. There must be some misunderstanding, Drake insisted. Lou spoke up. Drake, please ask Worm to tell Bellor that I know him from the dream world. I think of him as my friend. After he got the message, Bellor's body flashed again. Drake heard Worm's voice in his head. Bellor says he recognizes Lou, but does not need any friends. Roar! The crystal dragon reared back his head. Then a beam of crystal energy shot from Bellor's mouth, aimed at Drake and Worm. Chapter 8, A Fast Escape. Drake quickly touched Worm. Get us out of the way, he yelled. Worm transported them both across the chamber in a blink of an eye. At the same time, Rory cried out, Vulcan, fire blast! Whoosh! Fiery orange flames shot from Vulcan's mouth. The flames hit Bellor. The crystal dragon's body glowed orange for a brief second, but the fire blast had not harmed him. Worm, freeze Bellor, Drake cried. Green light poured from Worm's eyes. Before the light could reach Bellor, the crystal's points on his body began to shine. A wall of light appeared around Bellor. Worm's energy hit the light and then disappeared. Drake, this dragon is very powerful. We must get to safety, Worm said. What about Griffith and Morgan? Drake asked. We will return for them, Worm promised. Drake nodded. Quick, take us out of here. In a flash, they were by Vulcan's side. Bellor's protective shield of light was starting to fade. Drake touched Vulcan. Hang on, Worm's going to transport us. No way, Rory protested. I'm not leaving Griffith. Rory, sometimes a hero knows when it's best to run, Lou told her. We'll come back, Drake promised. Worm, take us to the map chamber. Chapter 9. Where's Rory? Drake, Worm, Rory, Lou, and Vulcan arrived back in the map chamber in a flash of green light. Thank you for letting me ride with you, Rory, said Lou. I'd like to get back in my wheelchair now. Of course, and you can ride with us any time, Rory replied. At Drake's command, Worm floated Lou back into his wheelchair. Lou, Bellor said he knew you, Drake said, his eyes shining with excitement. I know you saw him in the dream world, but do you think you could be Bellor's Dragon Master? It's possible, Lou replied. In stories, people come from small beginnings and end up doing big things. Maybe being Bellor's Dragon Master is my story. But you heard Bellor. He doesn't want anything to do with me. If you're a Dragon Master, you might be able to connect with him, Jake said. We just need to find you a Dragon Stone so you can give it a try. Maybe there's a Dragon Stone in Morgan's hut, Lou suggested. Good idea, Drake agreed. But we need a plan in case Bellor attacks. Rory, Rory? Drake realized that Rory and Vulcan were no longer in the chamber. That's just like Rory, Drake said. I'm sure they've gone back to save Griffith and their own. Worm and I will go after them, and you. Suddenly, Vulcan charged in from the depths of the cave, with Rory on his back. Get outside now, Rory shouted. Behind them, Bellor appeared, his crystal body glowing with yellow energy. Chapter 10. Dragon vs. Dragon. Lou, touch Worm, hurry, Drake cried. Worm, get us out of the cave. Worm instantly transported the three of them outside. Seconds later, Vulcan and Rory flew out of the grotto and into the sky. Bellor charged out, running at amazing speed. Focused on Vulcan, he looked up. A beam of crystal energy shot from Bellor's mouth. With perfect aim, it hit Vulcan's side. The fire dragon and Rory tumbled down from the sky. Worm, help Vulcan and Rory get to safety, Drake instructed. Worm's body glowed green, and a green light glow appeared around Vulcan and Rory. They froze in midair, then slowly sank to the ground. They landed behind Worm, Drake, and Lou. Bellor charged toward them. Worm, tell Bellor we don't want to hurt him, Drake said. We were just looking for our missing wizard friend. Worm glowed, relaying the message to Bellor, but the crystal dragon snorted. Bellor thinks we are fooling him, he says. He says we must be working for the yellow wizard. Bellor reared up on his hind legs. Light poured from all the crystal points on his body. Be ready, he's powering up for an attack, Rory called. The smooth, hard ground beneath everyone's feet began to tremble. A large circle of yellow light sprang up from all around them. Before anyone could think to react, the giant crystals burst from the ground. The tall, jagged wall of crystals surrounded them. Bellor has trapped us inside a crystal arena, Lou exclaimed. Rory and you and Vulcan should fly out of here, Drake cried. See if you can get Griffith and Morgan out of the cave. Worm and I will deal with Bellor. We're not leaving you again, Rory said firmly. We are all in this together, Lou added, leaning toward the fire dragon. His wheelchair bumped along the uneven surface. Drake heard Worm's voice in his head. Bellor says he will trap us inside crystals like he did with the wizards, Worm said. Bellor, we don't want to fight you, Drake insisted. Roar! The body of the crystal dragon glowed as he gathered up for power to power another attack. Drake looked up at Worm. Do you remember what you did in the light dragon's labyrinth with those rocks? Can you do that now to trap Bellor? He asked. Worm closed his eyes. The ground began to shake again. This time rocks shot up from the ground. Huge rocks surrounded Bellor in a tight circle. Other boulders erupted underneath the crystal wall, then trapped them, knocking down many of the crystals. Bellor thrashed at the rocks with his strong tail, trying to break free. A giant chunk of rock flew off it and hit the ground and rolled toward Lou. Chapter 11. A Calming Crystal. Bellor's eyes widened when he saw that Lou was in danger. To everyone's surprise, he acted fast to save the boy. He pushed his head through the rock wall and it crumbled. A crystal beam shot from his mouth, aimed at the ground. Where the beam hit, a smooth crystal pathway formed. It led from Bellor to Lou. Lou swiftly wheeled down the pathway, out of the way of the rolling rock. Bellor quickly moved toward him. Lou faced the dragon. "You saved me," he said. "You are the hero of your own story, Bellor. You can fight us and hurt us, or you can let us help you. You decide." Jake held his breath. Will Bellor get angry and attack again, he wondered. Bellor listened calmly as Worm relayed Lou's words. Soon Drake heard worms inside his head. "Bellor will listen to what Lou has to say." Drake announced the news. "This is great. Lou can talk to Bellor through me and Worm." "Griffith!" Rory cried suddenly. She rushed toward the cave. Griffith and Morgan walked out of the grotto. Drake blinked. They're free?" "Roar!" Bellor roared at the wizards. "Everyone get away from the crystal dragon," Griffith warned. "He's dangerous." "Our new friend Lou has a connection to him," Drake said. "We're working it out." Lou turned to Bellor. "You are safe. Please stay calm and Please stay calm and tell me your story." Bellor's body flashed brightly. Lou took the blue crystal from his pocket. Lou said that crystal had a calming power, Jake remembered. Lou reached out and touched the crystal to the dragon's neck. "It's okay, Bellor," he said. "Nobody's going to hurt you." Bellor closed his eyes. Then Drake's dragonstone began to glow. "Bellor says the wizard in yellow is the one who tried to control him," Worm told Drake. "Bellor says that Morgan tried to control him with magic," Drake said. "Is that possible?" "That is not something Morgan would do. I would ask him," Griffith replied. "But my poor cousin has not spoken since we freed ourselves from those crystals." "How did you get out?" Rory asked Griffith. "Worm's powers loosened up the crystals enough for us to use magic," Griffith explained. "But our escape seems to have taken a lot out of Morgan." He turned to his cousin. "Are you feeling any better?" A smile crept across Morgan's face. "Oh, I am feeling just fine," he said. He pointed at Griffith. A jagged blast of red lightning shot from his fingertips and zapped Griffith in the chest. Griffith collapsed and Rory caught him. She gently set him on the ground. Then Morgan reached into his pocket and pulled out a glittering red dragonstone. Chapter 12. Danger in Disguise. Drake gasped at the sight of the bright red stone. "I've seen a stone like that before," he cried. Rory had seen it too. "Maldred used one to control the Hydra. We need to destroy it." Morgan held out the red dragonstone. A beam of red light shot from it, aimed at Bellor. "Roar!" The crystal dragon roared as the stone's beam struck him in the forehead. Bellor's eyes glazed over red. "Excellent," Morgan cried. "Now I finally can control Bellor. The magic of the crystal is all mine. Wizards everywhere will pay me to get their hands on this magic. I will be rich and powerful beyond belief. Nobody can stop me." Behind Morgan, Rory tapped him on the shoulder. "Oh yeah?" she asked. "What?" Morgan spun around, startled. Grinning, Rory yanked the red dragonstone out from his hands. "Drake, catch!" she yelled, tossing it to Drake. Drake caught the stone. Furious, Morgan pointed at Drake. Red energy sparkled from his fingertips. Drake jumped out of the way of the magical blast. "Lou!" he cried. He tossed the stone to Lou. Then Drake landed on the ground just as Morgan's magical attack harmlessly passed over him. Lou caught the red dragonstone and tossed it on the ground in front of him. Then he ran over with his wheelchair, crushing it under the metal wheels. The red faded from Bellor's eyes. "No!" Morgan cried. Meanwhile, Griffith had recovered from Morgan's magic blast. He jumped to his feet. Blue magic streamed from his fingertips and a blue bubble of energy surrounded Morgan. "Griffith, are you going to send your cousin to Wizards Council prison?" Rory asked. Wait, Lou pleaded. None of this makes sense with the story. The Morgan you know would never do anything bad, unless this isn't Morgan. Good thinking, my boy, Griffith said. The magic streaming from his fingertips began to sparkle. Disamalata perdus. The strange words boomed from the wizard. Inside the bubble, Morgan began to thrash. His white curly beard disappeared. His hair became red and wavy. His eyes changed from blue to green. His mustache became shorter. His body became longer and thinner. Everyone stared at the new wizard trapped inside the bubble. Griffith gasped. Gerkin! He cried. Chapter 13. Gerkin's Plan. Gerkin, Drake said, thinking, why do I know this name? Isn't he one of the wizards you found in the wall in Maldred's hideout? Rory asked. Maldred, an evil wizard, had once trapped many wizards in the wall. With the help of a dragon master and his time dragon, all the wizards were freed. Some of the wizards were good and others were known to be troublemakers. Griffith had made a list of wizards who fled being freed from the wall. Gerkin was on the list. Yes, it is I, Gerkin, the wizard said with a cackle. Before Maldred trapped me in the wall, I had stolen his instructions for making a red dragonstone. Why did you come here to the Crystal Cave? Lou asked. Nobody in Greenshire knows about Bellor. How do you know that a crystal dragon lived there? Not even the wizard who guarded the cave knew about this dragon, Griffith added. I have been obsessed with the cave since I learned about it in wizard school, Gerkin replied. I searched libraries around the world seeking to learn how the crystals got their magic. In a rare book I read a legend about a crystal dragon that had been in secret for ages. I believed there was a link between the dragon and the magic of the crystals. So I made my plan. Drake pointed at him. You took Morgan's place so you could search the cave. Exactly, my boy, Gerkin said. I used a spell to make myself look like Morgan, to fool any visiting villagers. Then I searched for the map chamber. And when you found it, the map led you to Bellor, Rory guessed. Indeed, but he trapped me in a crystal before I could use my red dragonstone on him, Gerkin said, shaking his fist at Bellor. Bellor trapped me too, when I was looking for my cousin, Griffith said. His fingertips sparkled with magic. Gerkin, tell me what you have done with Morgan. Gerkin laughed. I'll tell if you release me. Then Worm spoke to Drake. I have been searching the grotto with my mind power for a sign of life, he said. I think I have located Morgan. We need to go back to the grotto, Drake cried. Worm, says Morgan, may be inside. Chapter 14. Found. Drake ran toward the cave entrance. Boom! Gerkin used a spell to burst through Griffith's magic bubble. Drake spun around. Worm, he began to give a command, but before he could finish, a beam of crystal energy shot from Bellor's mouth. A crystal formed around Gerkin, trapping the wizard once again. Bellor, you sure do thinking fast, cheered Lou. Rory nodded to Drake and the others. Go find Morgan, Vulcan, and I will stay here and keep an eye on Gerkin. Excellent plan, Griffith agreed. Drake, Worm, Lou, Bellor, and Griffith returned to the grotto. Worm says he could sense Morgan, so we'll let him lead the way, Drake explained. Worm slowly crawled through the large grotto. He snaked around turns until he arrived in an arena where the sun didn't reach. Then he stopped. In the far hidden corner, a large red bubble hovered around above the ground. Morgan, Griffith yelled, rushing forward. He aimed both hands at the bubble. Magic streamed from his fingertips. The red bubble burst. The wizard who had been trapped inside dropped to the ground. He had a white curly beard and wore yellow robes. Cousin? Morgan said weakly. Griffith hugged him. Yes, do not fear. Gerkin is captured. Are you safe? Morgan sat up and blinked. Is that an earth dragon? And a crystal dragon? There is much to tell you, Griffith said. Let us go to your hut. They made their way back to their grotto. Bellor stopped in front of the map chamber. Lou touched Bellor's neck. I suppose this is where your our story ends, Bellor. I'm guessing you have to stay here in the crystal cave, he said, but I'd like to come visit you again if someone will bring me, or maybe we will see each other in our dreams. Bellor stared at Lou for a moment. Then the dragon turned. Light shone from his eyes, hitting the grotto wall. The wall trembled. A green crystal began to float from the wall. Lou's eyes widened. Drake gasped. The crystal looked like a dragon stone. Chapter 15. What's next? Lou, break that crystal off the wall, Griffith instructed. Lou snapped off the green crystal at its base. He stared at it in wonder. I think Bellor has chosen you to be a dragon master, Drake said. Lou clasped the crystal in his hand. Drake could see the soft green glow of the stone through Lou's fingers. I can hear Bellor inside my head, he said. He does want me to be a dragon master. Wonderful, Griffith said. Let's take care of Morgan, then we'll talk. Soon they all gathered outside Morgan's hut. Griffith's cousin was wrapped in a blanket. I feel a bit weak, but I will be okay, Morgan assured them. Griffith used magic to produce a table topped with small round cakes and a pot of tea. He talked while everyone snacked. Lou, if your family allows you, you should stay here, Griffith began. Morgan can train you to work with Bellor. I would like that a lot, Lou said. The dragonstone in his hand glowed. He smiled, and so would Bellor. I am happy to have help guarding the cave, Morgan said. I will use magic to add a ramp to my hut and a big room for Lou. And Bellor can tell us if he would like to remain a secret or not. Morgan pointed at Lou's dragonstone. But first you need a proper cord for your stone, he said. Purple magic sparkled from his fingertips and hit the stone. A cord appeared. Lou slipped it over his head, smiling. After tea, I will send a message to Diana, the head wizard. She can help bring Gerkin to Wizard's Council prison, and Lou and I can go to the village with the news of what has happened, Griffith nodded. Jake and Rory, you may return to Bracken. Rory's green eyes sparkled. Yes, we need to tell everyone that we have found you, Griffith, she said. Bo, Anna, and Ika will all be worried. Bellor touched noses with Orm and Vulcan. Drake shook Lou's hand. Thanks for all your help, Lou, he said. We wouldn't have found Griffith without you. Thanks for helping me become a dragon master, Lou replied. I can't wait to share this new story with my father. I am glad that, after all those twists, our story has a happy ending. After they all said their goodbyes, Worm transported Drake, Rory, and Vulcan to Bracken. Eco, Bo, and Anna ran toward them when they appeared in the training room. We found Griffith. He is safe and he will be home soon, Rory announced. Excellent, Eco said. You must tell us all the details. But first, Drake, I have an urgent message for you and Bo from the head wizard. That sounds important, Bo remarked. I think it is, Eco replied. Joanna needs to see you. She wants to send you to a land called Gathakia. She says your dragons will have a perfect power for a special mission. Shu and I are ready to go, Bo said. Drake looked at Worm. Are you ready for another adventure? Worm smiled. I am always ready for another adventure with you, Drake. The end. Goodbye, and I hope you enjoyed reading Dragon Master's Cave of the Crystal Dragon with me by Tracy West, and I hope you can stay in tune for other Dragon Master audiobooks that I read. So I hope you have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.